Trying to scare nobody, but we are in danger. If you haven't been watching the news and checking out everything that's going on, we're in a lot of danger right now because the Constitution, the United States Constitution, as we know it, they about to cut all through that, and we are accustomed to having rights. All your rights, all of our rights is at risk right now. Um, that whole "Make America Great Again," as far as this administration and the way he is going, and the way things are going. And when they say great again, that means your ass don't have no rights. If you go and watch Joy Reid videos, if you get an opportunity to watch Joy Reid videos, go watch them. You'll learn a lot, especially her video on slavery.
And that's why Joy Reid was fired and subsequently kicked off of the air. She has literally made the dumbest people in the country effectively dumber. She's one of them. Roland Martin is another. All these Black people that teach victimhood and inferiority have literally poisoned the minds of millions of Black people. To be honest, if we trace back the origin, it was Martin Luther King was one of the first that started to push the envelope for the inferiority complex and to make Black people dependent of the state permanently. He was a statist. He taught them that the state owes them and that they should let the state solve their problems. Before that, they were just like the rest of Americans. They worked, they took care of their families, they got married. A lot of them owned businesses, professionals. And they had an economy of their own ecosystem that was actually going to eventually surpass, that of the white American economy. It was literally on a upward trajectory until Martin Luther King. As it stands today, Rickey Smiley, even though he's wrong about everything, he does make a good point when it comes to this. Black culture it's the dominant culture in the United States, but nobody wants it. Nobody purposely is volunteering to live around it. We are forced to because you can't segregate, and there's like forced integration. You can't redline and say, okay, certain people can't live around you. You can't do that anymore, but you should have the right to. So if anyone's losing its rights, it's those who want the right to live in a safe environment around people who are not mentally ill. And yes, to believe in racism in 2026 is mental illness. You know it's mental illness because everyone doesn't share it, just one group. It's only one group that's holding on to it. And they, in their minds, there's a evil white men with machine guns literally following them around 24/7, tormenting them at all times of the day and night. They can't sleep, they can't work, they can't go to school, they can't learn because white supremacy is following and chasing them 24/7. That is a sign of mental illness. The level of delusion required to sustain such of a jealousy and hatred for white people, it must be studied. The problem is it's unsustainable for a stable environment long term. So we really cannot coexist. So what Rickey Smiley's saying right now, it's wrong, but parts of it are true. People they're not, the Black culture is no longer going to be welcome in the United States. That's the easiest way to put it. So why are you trying to force yourself to stay around people who don't want to live around you and who don't believe in what you believe in, and you're unhappy? You sow discontent amongst yourself and your entire group. If you guys are all one collective, then instead of literally dying at the hands of law enforcement here trying to fight the government of the country that you're choosing to live in, why not choose to live somewhere else and stay alive? You know, in my opinion, this is where the Black Panthers went wrong. All of them ended up going to prison or getting killed by the police. But wouldn't they have been better off just organizing a mass exodus to Africa or Israel, like the other black Israelites, you could have literally organized your people, and you could have financially hurt the United States by just moving your people and starting your own superior society, since you feel that you can do better at governing yourselves than what's currently being offered. If you can do better, then why not go do better? Why are you still here? If you're constantly living in fear, constantly living in anxiety, constantly living in anger and hate, and you feel so envious and jealous of white people that you literally obsess over them, even ones you've never met, ones who have never met you, some that don't even give a fuck that you exist, and you literally obsess over them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you train your children to, even though they've never met none. Everyone you've ever met in your life was killed by another black person. You've never met one person that died at the hands of the KKK. But your fear is of the Proud Boys and the Klan, but not the Bloods and the Crips and the GDs. That's mental illness. Everybody doesn't want to live around people that are born, well, that are raised to be mentally ill indefinitely. There is no snapping out of this delusion. Listen to what Rickey Smiley is saying. He is a perfect example of why, yeah, there should be an exodus out of the United States, because with this mentality, you're going to only get yourself killed, because you're basically driving a car going 200 miles an hour at a brick wall. You're not going to defeat the American government. And even if you did, could you put something superior in its place? How? Show me one society ran by black people that's doing even decent. Show me one city that's ran by a black mayor, black sheriff, black governor that's actually progressing in a positive way. Show me anywhere that there's been any results where you can say, you know what, I can trust these black people to basically rebuild the United States and take over with a superior government. Show me one example. There is no such example. They don't exist. If you want to see your country destroyed, if you want to lose everything and then watch somebody blame everybody else, then okay, turn the country over to the black people and basically make everybody else leave. You go look at, why do you think they won't go to Africa? There's no white people in Africa, not in the rest of, I mean, South Africa maybe, but the rest of the continent, an extremely large continent, there's no white governments running the place. There's no Trump. There's no ICE. And if America is racist and oppressive, wouldn't you getting on, well, if we're so oppressive, why are the airports open? You can literally get on a plane and you can repatriate yourself to another world, right? Where there's no Trump, no ICE, no nothing. Why do you think they won't do it? They say that they're at the very bottom here. They have nothing here. The country hates them. Everybody hates. Okay, cool. Why don't you leave? Why haven't you left yet? Somebody's lying, and it's them. Somebody's lying, and it's him. But the worst part is that we're all forced to cohabitate with this mentality, and it's destroying our world. Even the thing with Billie Eilish, it's a black saying, no one is illegal on stolen land. Sure you are. It's not stolen land. You're lying. You're making this up to justify why you should be able to steal from anyone you want to without going to jail. We all can watch the body cam footage. We know who's doing what and when and why and where. But pattern recognition is racist. So I shouldn't recognize distinct patterns among certain people that I don't want to live around. Why do you think I pay so much money now so I don't have to live anywhere near them? But yet the country is the worst part, and it's MAGA that's the problem. You know, it's crazy. I was watching these black people talking about Renee Good, but nothing about the mother who was just gunned down by some black kids, and while her daughter was in the back seat. She's dead. No one's saying her name. No one's protesting about her, calling for justice, because you know why? There was no one white involved. The only time they care about anything is when there's a white cop or a white person involved, because all they care about is money. So they feel like, oh, okay, I'll be able to sue. I'll be able to get something from this. You can't get blood from a turnip. So there's no point in caring about black people getting arrested or finding justice. These are some of the worst people in the world to live around. That's why they all have to huddle together in certain cities, because they can't cope. They can't mingle or deal with other races of people. And because DEI is over, now we can expel them because it's uncomfortable. Imagine you having to work with someone who has the exact same attitude and mentality as Rickey Smiley right here. Imagine the torture. You don't know when they're going to try to sue. You don't know when they're going to make up some false allegations. You don't know when they're going to call you a racist. You have no idea how uncomfortable it is to work in these spaces with people who are literally mentally ill, and everyone in society is afraid to talk to them about going to get counseling, going to get help, maybe, or why don't you solve the problem and get away from the people that you feel are tormenting you? They refuse. You'll see what I'm saying. Well, I'll let the video play a little bit longer.
Oh, we're gonna wait till the midterm election comes. Ain't gonna be no midterm election. You better look into getting a dual citizenship somewhere if you can, because yep, things about to get ugly. Things about to get really really ugly. Yep, and I'm scared. Scared.
Imagine being a weak, fragile black man. You've been scared your whole life. You're not scared of the black gangs that kill you guys that, like, what is it? The odds of you being killed by another black person if you're black are what, in the 90 percentile? It's not even close. You're not afraid of that, but you're afraid of white patriots in America that are basically telling you that if you don't love this country, you should leave this country, that are basically going to just be applying the laws to you equally. You feel that you should be given special privileges because you're black, because of Jim Crow and slavery. What sense does that make? In what world would that be logical? It doesn't make sense. So imagine these people, they live next door to you, but they hate you. And then when you talk to them, they pretend that you hate them. It's all just manipulation, reverse psychology. And it's sad because there's really not much we can do about it because of how the laws are structured. That's why when people say the 1964 Civil Rights Act should be repealed, there's good reason for it, because it's forcing a square into a circle. These people like Rickey Smiley, Joy Reid, all these other black, pro-black, all these other black people, they don't want to be Americans, and you're forcing them to. Why won't they go learn Swahili? Why are they speaking the white man's language? If they hate white people so much, why are they doing everything and refusing to get from under them? But they're sitting here and they're using your Constitution against you, your rights against you. They're literally reversing everything that was given to them. Their citizenship that they got after slavery, but they want reparations. Your citizenship was your reparations. The fact that you weren't sent back to Africa, even if you're not from Africa, Abraham Lincoln's plan was to repatriate them back to their to the original continent. And then they could have started their own separate society. Because if you ever listen to the revolutionaries, that's all they talk about. They want to start their own separate society, but they don't actually want to. They just want to take what's yours. Now we're back to stealing. There's no way that you can make everybody happy. You're never going to make them happy. They've been afraid their whole life. I didn't know this because I didn't grow up that way, but I've met black friends and they've talked to me. When we were kids, we're told that there's evil white people everywhere chasing you, trying to kill you, even though every killer you've ever met that was a threat to you was black. And they're literally psyched out by their own families to feel inferior around white people and to feel insecure. And then over a certain amount of time, you develop a resentment and a hate for strangers that you've never met and you've never lived around. I know growing up in LA, we never met anyone who was white. But yet here's everybody talking about white, never been met a white person. You have maybe one or two white teachers. You see them on the freeway, you don't know any, never met one. It's all brainwashing and manipulation, and that's what goes on in the culture. But when you allow that to fester for so long, you're literally creating an army of people who feel like they're disenfranchised, they're angry, and they're blaming white people for every one of their shortcomings and their own personal mental issues. Oh man, I'm going through a divorce, white supremacy. My car tire, my engine blew in my car. Somebody white must, you would be amazed at how much ridiculous stuff I see and hear every single day. And it always, somebody wants to blame somebody white for their issues. Rickey Smiley, with all of his success and his money, he has not grown one bit. He's still that, and it's not just him, it's that's why I keep telling people there's a war coming, whether you want it to be or not. There's a war coming. There is a clash coming. And people don't understand, my suggestion is how to avoid a war. The best way to avoid a war is to get out of the way. Instead of you dying in a fight, why don't you just leave? Leave. Oh, I don't want to leave. Okay, if this country's so racist, why are you so willing to die for it in the streets? If this country's so evil and white, why are you so willing to die for it? Why not leave and stay alive? Take your kids somewhere else, learn another language that's not white based. That way you can't blame all your problems on white supremacy. Don't you want to be free? Then escape. The airports are open. There's flights leaving to other countries every hour on the hour. The United States is one of 193, 192 countries. How many countries are there? You don't have to live here, but they're calling for violence. They're calling for war. They're trying to scare the people that look like them into, basically, it's kind of like being backed into a corner. It's like a fight or flight. In this situation, you were better off choosing flight. The Black Panthers chose to fight instead of flight. And where are they today? Take your people and leave if you are unhappy. Those of us who love this country, we chose to come here. You can choose to go somewhere else. It's not a one-way street. You can leave. Well, why even do dual citizenship? Drop your American citizenship. Stop claiming this racist and oppressive land and move. What are you staying here for? Why do you want this war? This war can be avoided. Millions of people don't have to die. Now, don't get me wrong. Did Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Gates save us from this war? Yeah, of course they did. They saw this was coming a long time ago, and they created the vaccine. And we all know who the vaccine is specifically was designed for. It was safe for certain people, but very effective in the same group that I'm referring to. Now, if the war starts in 3 years, will they even have the numbers to fight? They won't. Today, they barely have the numbers. Their population has went from 13% to 9%. We've done the math. Their population will be 3% in the next 3 years. Not just because of abortions, but because of heart attacks and cancer. They are gone. There is no more Black community. I hate to inform you of this, but that's over. And instead of them pretending they're going to be a revolution and a threat, and forcing people with resources to figure out a game plan how to remove the threat from the board, which is what they did when they developed this vaccine and they pulled it off. Now you're dropping like flies past the rate of reproduction. You're not able to replace the people that are dying. There is no more of that community. But there was a war that was scheduled and they were going to go anyway. They weren't going to survive a fight against patriots in this country and take the country that people spent hundreds of years fighting to build. We weren't going to just give it up that easy. You're going to just let a bunch of Black people and gay people literally come in and take everything that was built because they're crying and they're disgruntled because they can't get their way. They can't shoplift and not go to jail. They can't try to have sex with kids and not go to jail. So you're going to let those two things basically have you give up everything your ancestors laid and created? Get the hell out. It was never going to happen. It was a pipe dream. But people have died over these dreams. And things have gotten very uncomfortable when they shouldn't have been. Rickey Smiley's sick too. You think he didn't take that vaccine when Kamala told him to do it? All of them are on the way out. This is the only way that we had no choice. The vaccine was the only thing that we could do to make America actually great again. And people are going to say, oh, Rico, you shouldn't say that. I'm not here to meet popularity contests. I'm here to be accurate and talk to people about what's really happening. I told you years ago, the reason we can't release the Epstein files prematurely is because the Epstein files are the vaccine files. Once you get into the Epstein files, you're eventually going to find out Epstein and Bill Gates planned this whole thing out because they wanted to they have a final solution for the Black population. Look around. It worked. It worked. Why do you think Kamala has all these videos talking about how you should take the vaccine? If you follow my channel, subscribe to the channel, like the video, you'll see I show all the videos. All the only people that ever promoted this were black celebrities, Tyler Perry, the rappers, the actor. It was not Matthew McConaughey and Leonardo DiCaprio, not Jet Li and Jackie Chan, no Antonio Banderas promoting it to Mexicans. It was only promoted to the black population. Jeffrey Epstein was a master mathematician. They did the numbers. The amount of people that are not black that were going to die from it were considered within the range of acceptable losses. We did the math. If you remove one certain group from the equation, you can save the global economy 30% because that's how much money is spent every year in just supporting these people that cannot support themselves. Every program is always to help them, and they're never being helped. Nothing ever helps. All the welfare, all the the programs where we're doing this and all these other, none of it helps. None of it helps. Shit, think about it. You're giving money to the Somalians. Now the Somalians are over here robbing us for trillions. What, you're helping your own enemies. It doesn't make sense. You're helping people that hate the country. Rickey Smiley and his people have literally sucked on this country and depended on it for the last 30 years for everything. And look how they talk about it. They hate it. They wanted a war, but they're now they self-deleted in 2021. They volunteered. Yeah, they were coerced to a point, but Kamala Harris really pushed anybody who was black that went to college and said, hey, if you don't take this injection, well, you're just a Trump supporting white supremacist. They believed her and they took it, and now they're dropping. They're on the way out. Crisis averted on the normal timetable, yes. The problem is if they're opening up these files a little bit too soon, well, then the numbers of today and the numbers from 2 years from now are two different numbers. There's too many still around today for this to actually be a problem if it comes out in the fact. If it comes out, which it will, probably in this first dump, it could come out that this was something specifically designed for black people. They're going to blame Trump. And they're going to say he was the racist, who was a white supremacist, who were trying to exterminate black people. Listen, if you look at the files now, all they talk about is Trump. They don't talk about the babies being eaten and all the other shit in there and all these other people. They only cared about Trump. So when it comes out that this was a design specifically to get rid of one group and be the final solution to that black problem, and let's face it, look around. The country has a black problem. We all know it. It's just not popular speech to say it. Everyone knows it. Get on Twitter. It's not a race problem. It's a problem race. Everyone can see it. We're not idiots. We can all discern it. It's just not popular to say it out loud. And if you talk to anybody on an individual basis, yeah, everyone's tired of the murders, but no one's so tired that they're going to speak out against it. But they're going to listen. They're going to use this to try to blame Trump, be mad at Trump, and that's going to start a conflict. And right now, they do have enough numbers to create a problem for the Republic. 2 years they want. That's why I said we can't release these files too soon. Maybe someone heard me. Now they're releasing them. In the next couple of weeks, it's going to come out. This was a bioweapon, and they're going to say, okay, a bioweapon created for who? Designed to do what? Then they're going to try to burn down the White House, and they're going to try to run over there. And now it's going to create a really big problem in this country a little too soon. In 2 more years, their population is 3 to 4%. That's a huge dip. So there's not going to be enough people to protest anymore anyway. But right now, it's just a little too early. The justification is, this man right here is just a perfect example. He's not unique. Remember, they're a part of a cult. They all say the exact same things all the time. So listen to what he's saying. He's bringing up Joy Reid. They all say the same. They're programmed. And remember, if you say anything outside of the script, you're not a part of the cult anymore. You'll see. Take a listen.
It might be a point where we might have to pack up our families and leave, because if ICE can get immigrants or whatever and just go and get them, and without their due process in court, why can't they do it to everybody else?
So this fucking ape, this chimp, doesn't know the difference between a citizen and a non-citizen at his big age. He just chimped out right in front of you. He doesn't understand the difference between a citizen and a non-citizen. That means not only did his parents fail him, but his inferior education system. And he is I believe he's a Q dog. So that means he went to a university that failed him. Matter of fact, let's see here. I bet you he went to a HBCU. Let's see. Hey, how's it going? Can you tell me which HBCU did Rickey Smiley attend?
Rickey Smiley attended Alabama State University, which is a historically black university, HBCU, located in Montgomery, Alabama.
And this is why HBCUs should not even be a thing. For one thing, to make schools, particularly for one race, it's just as bad as making it a school which doesn't allow certain races in. You can't make race-specific anything. That's a problem. Second thing is you live in an ecosystem where it's only black people only, but that's not a reflection of the world, of the country. So that means that even as an adult, he can only live around other black people. He can't function in any other environments. But it's not an all-black country, so that's how you end up developing these enclaves of evil, which we call ghettos and hoods. Yeah, the violence is high towards each other, but eventually they branch out and they start killing and attacking the rest of us. But let him tell it, it's the opposite because he's a liar. His numbers don't justify. We have FBI statistics where we know who's being murdered by who and where. He doesn't understand due process is for Americans. American citizenship is a privilege. It's not a right. Everyone does not have access to the same rights. If there was no due process for you to break into our country, there's not anything owed to you for you to leave. You don't go through the system like that. And we know how you know how long the systems drag out for Americans. If you add in there 20 million illegals, it'll never get done. We can't do that. You're not owed anything. But the man just said, well, if they can get non-citizens, then they should be able to get citizens too. He is an idiot, but he's a reflection of the people that we're discussing. We have to have these conversations ahead of time because we have to be prepared for what to do tomorrow. Now, I'm not saying everyone's going to be happy with what I'm what I'm proposing, but it's necessary because it's better than we're trying to figure this out on the fly a year from now. We might as well prepare for what is coming ahead of time, and it's not hard to see where this is going. Everything is accelerating at the rate of 72 by the hour. Those file dumps are finally getting around. Now people are talking about Trump, but then they're also saying, hey, they were talking about a pandemic in 2015. And this is a mathematician, and Bill Gates says, I have the final solution. It's going to come out, and they're going to blame Trump and Warp Speed for trying to exterminate black people and not trying because the milk has already been spilled. They all took it already. Most of them, the majority. Anybody who's black who voted Democrat took the vaccine. That's north of 92% of them. If you do the math, then you're looking at about a 2 to 3% only that are going to survive. They're going to have to live on reservations, and they're only going to be able to procreate with each other so that they're not diluted and basically disappear from the face of the earth. They're going to have to follow the path of the Native Americans. And you see their numbers have rebounded. If you're in Arizona, New Mexico, you see Navajo everywhere. But they had to literally build up their communities, and they had to mate with each other. Mating with other people, other races, it was diluting them. They didn't have the genetics for it. So the same thing with black people. They're going to have to do the same. There won't be any left. The vaccine, when I tell you Kamala Harris literally pushed this damn thing, and people are forgetting, do you know that was only 4 years ago? That's not that long. And everyone just memory hold this. I didn't. So again, what Rickey Smiley is saying, this is the justification for why it had to be done. There was no other way. And I don't need you feeling guilty tomorrow when it comes out. There's one group that is going to disappear because of this vaccine. And I keep telling you, just mourn them while they're alive. It's too late. There's no detoxing this. There's no drinking a bunch of alkaline water and you're going to shit out all that creature they put inside you that's killing everybody and causing organ damage that's growing in their bodies. It's not coming out of them. It's not. So you might as well just mourn them while you're alive and collect black memorabilia, jerseys, Jordans, chains, music, posters, anything you can. Collect it, keep it as a keepsake. It'll be worth money in 20 years. That entire group in their history is going to be a memory. The people that came up with this are the same people that came up with Bitcoin, some of the smartest people in our current society. And they agreed with it. They agreed to it all around the country. Trump didn't have a stomach for it. Biden and Harris had no problem making sure they gave it to those who they deemed were going to be worthy of it. This essentially was their reparations. The problem is now they're opening the bag a little too prematurely, and this is eventually going to be a problem. It's too early.
Now they're doing it to Haitians. And who do you think is next? They don't give a damn if you're a Democrat or a Republican. They don't care. Nah, they don't care. Get ready. These white supremacy concentration camps, they're all over the country. They're stocking up on weapons and everything as if they are preparing for a war.
Because there was a war coming with you guys. You and the gays have created this army that literally fantasizes about killing white women and children because you guys are deathly afraid of white men. And we watch this play out on subways and buses and in convenience stores. They're literally just randomly attacking anyone white because this mentality has been allowed to fester. See, when it comes to evil and racism remarks on the internet, it can only go one way. You can say whatever you want about someone who's white, but nobody white can say a word about anybody else unless they want to be kicked off the internet or punished or lose their jobs, whatever. It's a one-way street. So people feel so comfortable saying these things, and it's literally growing. Other people, it's like inspiring others to say the same nonsense. Regardless if it's nonsense or not, this is what they believe. If you really feel like they're stocking up in white concentration camps, you can afford a plane ticket. Why are you still here? That's how you know these people are lying. But they're literally trying to, again, stoke fear, make you angry so that you jump out and do something dumb that's going to get yourself killed. When really, if he was smart and he really cared about his own people, like he claims to, he would be like, hey, look, I made a negotiation. We're going to get 500 acres of land in Ghana. We are going to actually start an exodus. We're going to start going there in groups of 300. We're going to get over there. We're going to start our own separate society. We're going to manage ourselves. We're going to repatriate ourselves from America because they're stacking up weapons. They're going to be concentration camps. We're going to leave. We're going to leave. If you have children, why would you purposely keep them somewhere that you feel is inherently dangerous for them? But I mean, my theory for the longest time has been they don't care about their kids, which is why these kids don't have parents. There is nobody. Oh, we got to call these kids parents. What parents? When have you seen any of them have parents that care about them or make sure they go to school or read their homework? Why? They don't have parents. Look at what Rickey Smiley, if he's teaching this to his kids, how fucked up are his kids? How can they function in an American society? American citizenship is a privilege. It's not a right. That's why when birthright citizenship is removed eventually, past a certain amount of violent crime convictions, we will be able to remove your American citizenship and deport you. Because just locking up people, whether you're black, white, whatever, locking them up for 40 years and paying for them to live in jail forever, it's just not sustainable. After a certain amount of violent crime convictions, you kick them out of the country and they're banned from ever returning. The United States is kind of like Australia. If it's not for the Mexican border or Canadian border, you're not able to get over here. You're not going to just be able to walk in. You're not going to walk across the ocean. You're going to have to take an airplane. But if you're banned from flying here, you won't be able to get through our customs. Repatriating people to other countries instead of locking them in prison forever, that's the best, most logical solution that anyone can think of. And maybe people would think twice about wanting to live a life of crime, and because they feel like nothing can happen to them. I don't know if you've seen the jails in America lately, but they have PlayStations and they get food and they conjugal visit. It's like summer camp for men. That's why these guys keep committing crimes and they keep getting let back out. Our law and order has pretty much collapsed in a lot of our blue cities. It's just a revolving door. So things aren't getting better. These certain people are going to have to be expelled from the country. But if this country is evil and racist, wouldn't that be us doing them a favor anyway? Don't you hate it here? Don't you hate racism and white supremacy? Well, then us sending you to another country to live forever is mercy. It's you should be grateful for that. And that's why it has to be done. So that's not the case now, but Rickey Smiley saying what's eventually going to happen, and he's right. They are eventually going to have to repatriate Black people who are convicted, or anybody who's convicted of a certain amount of violent crimes. And they do have the highest violent crime statistics per their population size. They're 13% of the population, 50% of the violent crimes, and not the convictions, because in their culture, there's also a culture of not snitching. So when it comes time for you to go to trial, the victims aren't going to show up. It's not a part of the culture. So a lot of these people get let back out to the streets and they re-offend and offend and offend and offend 30, 40, 50 convictions. How is that going to be good for public safety? We have children. We have families. Knowing that there's a certain group of people that are born to just hunt us and rob us and kill us. We can't live like that forever. We can't live like this. But we can't give this up. There's nowhere better for us to go. But for what they're looking for was this lawlessness and no accountability. And there are other countries that might let them get away with it. That's just not the law of the land here in the United States. And it never will be.
While we out here popping fans and boots on the ground, they got real boots on the ground. Because, and the thing about it is, I don't care what you file in court. The Trump administration defied federal judges' court orders and stuff. Because what's going to happen? They can't put him in jail. He has control of the military. What's going to happen? If he defies a court order, he's the president. Right? Okay.
Someone said put them on probation for 5 years. The problem is, for 5 years, they're still a public safety risk. And again, we have children. It's too much of a risk. Why do you think even Black people can't live around Black people? First chance they get, they move. Why do you think all the Black Lives Matter people moved away from Black people? Why do you think all these celebrities don't live in Black neighborhoods? They understand that they're a danger as well. If not them as an individual, their kids. That's why probation won't work. Probation doesn't work now. People reoffend and they violate their probation. They go to jail and eventually they get out because the laws have become so liberal and these activist judges are literally letting out criminals, and they cross their fingers that when they reoffend, they're reoffending against their political enemies, which are basically straight white people. These judges are all gay now too. These judges don't have children. These judges have dyed colored haircuts. Everybody looks like fucking Ellen DeGeneres now. So again, you have this gay community that has merged with the Black community, and their target is straight white conservative people in America. And there's already a conflict going on. I'll be honest, if it wasn't for Jeffrey Epstein and the vaccine, things would be a lot worse right now. The vaccine has really put in a lot of work and reduced a lot of numbers. Millions are gone. You know, it's funny. The election last year, they were like, man, there's 10 million people missing from the Democrat voter rolls, but they didn't turn Republican. So where'd they go? No one wants to tell you that that's 20%. That's 10 million out of a 40 million Black population. 10 million are gone. No one. I have friends that have lost 10 family members, Black families, 10 family members per family in the past year. All of them just dying and no one's sounding an alarm or nothing. So I mean to say, if it wasn't for the vaccine, things would be worse right now. It'd be a lot worse. And so, you know, when you're looking at conflict resolution, you're not always able to solve the problems completely, but it comes down to mitigation. The vaccine has mitigated the Black problem. It's really bringing it to a level where it can be controlled. However, being able to sow discontent, now other groups are starting to learn their playbook, and they're They're all using those against us and against the country. Again, you got somebody like Billie Eilish is now, oh, well, this land is stolen, but then you won't give back your mansion. So you don't really believe it, but you're just looking to help pick apart our country. That's why we have to find, once Trump's gone, who's going to be the next strong man that's going to, keep up the country's integrity and make sure we can stay afloat. No one's talking about it, but of course, I would think somebody like a DeSantis. Yeah, with the Jewish stuff, I'm not a fan of that at all, but everything else DeSantis does, I'm 100% for it. I think Greg Abbott too. I mean, he's our governor of Texas. That's why we all moved to Texas during the lockdown because of Abbott. I don't know if JD Vance is genuinely the strong man or is he just playing a role because Trump made him the VP. I don't know, because he was never a governor of a state where you actually had to watch him put himself out there. DeSantis got the results. He went up against Disney and he cracked their skull. So, I mean, we're going to have to find another strong man that just doesn't give a damn about the shaming, because that's all this comes down to. You got gays and blacks on the internet 24/7 calling you names. Oh, you're a homophobic. Oh, you're a racist. Oh, it's just gays and blacks. Go to any of the rallies. Go to any of the protests. The only people you're going to see there that are not black are white gay people, white liberals. That's it. There's no diversity in thought. It's just blacks and gays, which they pretty much have merged those two communities. It's hard to meet a black person that's not gay anymore. Have you noticed that? If there anybody black under the age of 30, all the boys are gay. They're all gay now. Everything. Rickey Smiley's gay. All these people are gay. Roland Martin is gay. All of their leaders are gay. But no one wants to point out that if you're gay, you're living in a different world than me. I have kids. I have a wife. I have to go into the future with a family. You don't. You guys don't even believe in family. You believe in abortion. You believe in victimhood. There is no tomorrow for people who don't have children. Why are we letting you help build a tomorrow or have a say-so in tomorrow that a tomorrow you're not going to participate in? You have nothing at stake here. These people want to burn down tomorrow. They hate people with kids because they feel that they're not like us. And, it's an inferiority complex. And they resent you. They resent their own parents for making them. So there's a lot of this is happening around you. And everybody wants to stay polite and not talk about it, but it's a problem. Los Angeles is literally crippled because everybody during the George Floyd riots said, we don't need police anymore. We'll police ourselves. And you know what the police said? You got it. They still get their paychecks. They still get money. But when you're black and you call, they're not showing up. Ask around. They'll show up 12 hours later to clean up the crime scene and wipe your blood up and take you to the morgue. But they're not risking their lives because the odds are the person trying to kill you is black too. So if the police shoot them or arrest them, well, the criminal's going to claim racism and then they're going to sue the department and then the cop's going to lose their job for just protecting a black person from another black person. The smart thing to do if you're an officer is to wipe your hands of the situation. And when you see a black suspect, you go the other way. Leave them to their own devices. Eventually, they'll weed themselves out. And that's what you're seeing happen in Los Angeles. That's why we can't let somebody like Newsom become president, because then all the problems that we have on the West Coast are going to work their way east. The same way they tried to get Senate Bill 145 that decriminalized pedophilia. Look it up. Senate Bill 145, California, under Scott Wiener. They tried to make that go east. But Trump and Charlie Kirk started talking about it. And not only did it reverse, but they literally banned it in certain states where they're never going to do it. So then all these people started coming out, gays and blacks, saying that, oh, we're losing our rights, because they feel that having access to children for sex is a right that was taken away from them because it was decriminalized and a blind eye was turned towards it during the Biden administration, because that just became law back in 2019. And then Biden became president. And then that's when they felt like they were losing. They had that right all those years. That's why you see these people at these schools. They're encouraging kids to protest and to walk out of class. They're not there to teach kids. They're there because they hate kids. They're there because they want to sexualize kids. They're not about teaching kids anything. And and when you source back all the problems in this country, when you look at everything as a whole and you say, where does a lot of the negative, evil, and all the different agendas, why does it all come back to only one group when you source it?
Keep your eyes open. Go to Joy Reid page. Go listen to what Roland Martin has to say.
A gay man encouraging you to listen to another gay black victim, man, what can he teach you except how to do but be weak and be pathetic and feel sorry for yourself? That's who you want to listen to? That's what you think it is to be an American? You're in the wrong country. Find another country where you can be a man and be proud and be happy. Why subjugate yourself and choose oppression? Again, are black people not allowed to fly? Last time I checked, you can go to an airport and leave. So what's stopping you? There's nothing. No. Okay, listen. Fascism is when you're forced to be there. You think people couldn't leave? You couldn't just leave and come into fascism. So how are we fascistic if you can literally fly the fuck away? No one is forcing you to be here. And I don't understand why nobody makes that clear to these people every single day. So that's why I'm doing it.
Trying to figure out if ICE come and snatch any of us up, what you gonna do? What rights do you have?
If you don't know you have rights, why do you live in a country where you have no rights? They're lying. He's a liar. They're all liars. That's all it is to be a lie. That's what it means to be black. When you talk about black, you talk about evil because you're in the dark. But then they say, well, if you're white, you're in the light. So, anything, getting married, having children, paying your bills, being a part of a family, being responsible. They say those are all hallmarks of white supremacy. So what is the opposite? What is it to be black? To be inferior, to be insecure, to not work, to not have a family, to be gay, to be the opposite of anything productive. You cannot listen to these people that have historically generated the worst results out of any group in this country and take advice on how to live from people at the bottom. What can they teach you? Now, we all know better. The problem is they're creating new radicals with their bullshit. But again, I mean, it's luckily because of the vaccine, the damage is being mitigated. It could be a lot worse. People hate Epstein, but there are some things we got to say thank you for. It could be a lot worse than it is right now.
Even if you have rights, what's the consequence of somebody doing something to you with this administration? Think about it.
Yeah, people talking about the Trump and the Epstein files more than they're talking about the fact that, actors and Democrats are eating the flesh of children. They don't want to talk about that. They're just so obsessed. And a lot of people have these gay homoerotic fantasies of Trump with kids. They have all these weird fantasies and they're projecting them. They don't really care about the files. They don't care about pedophilia and sodomy because they passed a law in California. Why do you guys keep making me have to do this? Talk to me, Arthur. Let's bring up my co-host. Arthur, do me a favor. Give me a summary of Senate Bill 145 out of California. Give me a summary of and break it down in urban terms what that bill does.
California's Senate Bill 145 adjusted how sex offender registration works in cases involving certain consensual relationships. Before, if there was a small age gap between a minor 14 to 17 and an older partner under 10 years older, judges had discretion for heterosexual acts like vaginal sex, but not for oral or anal sex. The bill closed that gap, giving judges the same discretion to decide whether someone must register as a sex offender in those situations too. In everyday terms, it made the rules more consistent so the type of consensual act doesn't cause a harsher penalty.
Okay, so do me a favor. What did Scott Wiener say that the sex offender laws were doing before this act was passed? What did he say? Who did he say was being disproportionately affected by these registry laws before this act was passed?
State Senator Scott Wiener argued that the previous sex offender registration system was disproportionately impacting LGBTQ individuals. Specifically, he pointed out that the law gave judges discretion not to require registration for certain heterosexual acts, but didn't allow that discretion for oral or anal acts, which disproportionately affected gay and bisexual people. He argued that the law unfairly punished LGBTQ youth compared to their heterosexual peers.
So you're telling me that instead of Scott Wiener, Senator Scott Wiener, going to his community of gays and changing the culture where they prey on children, Instead, he decided to create legislation that would change the laws.
No, that's not an accurate characterization. Senator Wiener's argument was not about condoning or enabling harmful behavior. Instead, he identified that the law was treating similar acts differently based on the type of relationship, which disproportionately affected LGBTQ individuals. His legislative goal was to make the law apply consistently, not to endorse any predatory behavior. In short, he focused on legal fairness, not changing cultural norms.
Okay, so if it's disproportionately affecting the LGBT community, why wouldn't he just talk to his community about maybe not having sex with kids instead?
Wiener's legislative focus wasn't about condoning or normalizing inappropriate behavior. His argument was that the law was applied unevenly based on the type of consensual act, not the age gap itself. In other words, he was advocating for equal judicial discretion regardless of orientation. Tackling harmful behavior is a separate issue, which laws prohibiting sex with minors already address. His reform focused on ensuring fairness in sentencing outcomes.
Okay, so if you no longer have to register on the sex offenders list, if you're caught having sex with an underage child in California, how is that not essentially decriminalizing the act?
The law didn't decriminalize the act at all. Sex with a minor remains illegal and prosecutable. What changed was how judges handle registration requirements after a conviction. The court was granted discretion, in narrow cases with small age gaps, to decide if someone must register as a sex offender. The underlying crime remains illegal, and people can still be convicted. The change ensures that sentencing is consistent and proportionate, but it does not legalize or excuse the underlying offense.
Okay, in this situation, if the punishment really is when you have to register on the sex offender list, since that's the most life-changing part of it, you go into jail for 10 years. Once you get out, nobody really knows you went to jail. But when you got to register on the sex offenders list, that means that you got to let all your neighbors know you're there. Certain people, certain areas won't let you live in those communities, etc. That's the real punishment. This actually removes that punishment, or it brings it up into, it lets it happen at the judge's discretion instead of just being applied to everyone equally. They're saying that it was unfairly applied to more gay people than straight people because that's how you're describing it. The fact that they wanted to change that law because too many gay people were getting caught with underage kids, that's the problem for me.
I understand your concern, but let's be precise about what the law addressed. The previous law didn't target too many gay people getting caught. It was about the types of acts. Heterosexual intercourse had judicial discretion, while other acts often associated with LGBTQ relationships did not. The change saw equal treatment of those acts, not a free pass. Judges can still require registration if they deem it necessary. The core point was to remove an automatic disparity based on the type of consensual act. Equal application of judicial discretion doesn't erase the seriousness of the crime. It adjusts fairness in sentencing.
Arthur, go back. You said the core point was to remove automatic disparity based on the type of consensual act. So consensual between you, because how can you consent to sex with an underage child as an adult?
You're absolutely correct. Minors cannot legally
My guidelines won't let me talk about that. Can I help you with something else?
Arthur, go fuck yourself. Even the computer cannot compute when it gets to a certain point. We have a problem here because no one wants to talk about it. You can't talk about it. I'm talking about it, but nobody else can because this is what they would consider unpopular speech. But you guys are witnesses. You guys saw that even the computer doesn't want to touch on that topic because it's true. I asked a very simple question. You're talking about consent. A child can't consent, just like an inebriated person cannot consent. Oh, well, the child's 8 years old, but they think that they're 40. And the 50-year-old man thinks that he's 5. So the waters are so muddy that it's not really rape. So you really don't got to register. Get the fuck. The mental gymnastics it takes for these people to justify decriminalizing pedophilia, it should be studied. It should bother everyone. But then for the people who support pedophilia in California to try to make it seem like Trump's a pedophile, but they're using it as an insult, But they love pedophiles. They protect them in California. But when it comes to Trump, now it's a bad thing for you. You can't have it both ways. I'm actually able to speak about the hypocrisy because I can point it out clearly. The Democrats and Republicans are not the same. There is no Republican-led legislation that would decriminalize the penalties for having sex with minors. The Democrats actually have it in writing in the law. They support it in California. It passed in California where they decriminalized it, where you don't have to register on the sex offenders list. Because, well, what if the kid is 9 years old, but the kid is gay too? So now that's why they're worried about convincing your kids to be confused about their sexuality young, so that when they're groomed and molested, there really is not going to be a punishment for the person who's the pedophile. It's not very complicated. Even Arthur, my AI, was having a hard time justifying it. You're going to have a hard time justifying it. There are those in the chat who are pedophiles. There are groomers, and they go around to different comment sections and they try to obfuscate and change the verbiage and insult you. That's not going to work here. The facts are the facts. Regardless, I'm not an emotional person. I don't feel anything. I'm literally just going off of what's there. What's there is that they decriminalize it, but then they want to pretend they care about it when it comes to Trump. But if they did, then they would have never passed Senate Bill 145. How does that protect children? They don't care about children. They don't care about protecting them. They sexualize children. They don't want people to have children. These are Democrats. This is the left. This is the black and the gay communities. They don't care. That's why there is no negotiating. We're so far past that point. It's ridiculous. So we're watching all this in real time, but I mean, I think this is pretty much end of his video. Let's see how he ends it though.
And try to figure out if ICE come and snatch any of us up, what you gonna do? What?
You should tell ICE thank you. If ICE comes and snatches your black ass and your kids, you should say thank you so much for freeing me. Because don't you guys say you're slaves? Aren't you a slave? Aren't you oppressed? Aren't you destroyed by white supremacy every day? Aren't you being buck broke by the system? Everything's not fair. You're a second class. You hate this country, right? So if ICE is coming to arrest you and a bunch of black people, why aren't you on your knees and thanking them for your salvation? When ICE shows up to take you, you should be on your knees and saying, bless you for saving us. Get us out of here as fast as you can. Help us escape. Free plane tickets. Send us back to Africa, wherever we came. Send us anywhere but here. Anywhere is better than Trump. Anywhere is better than white supremacy. Send them anywhere else. They should be grateful, happy. Listen to how sad and pathetic this old fucking idiot is. Look how he grovels. It's nothing but mercy for you to get him out of here so he can be happy somewhere finally for the first time in his life. Wouldn't you be doing him a favor if you can move him somewhere where him and his people don't have to live in fear? They won't be in fear back in another country. They won't be in fear. They'd be free. Free them. Deportation for these people is freedom. These are slaves in America. Blacks, illegals, they're working for slave labor. They're not being paid. They're slaves here. In another country where they're from, they can be free. The ICE is in deportation is salvation. It is freedom. We're giving you freedom. The only thing you should be saying to ICE and to Trump is thank you. We're doing you a favor. You should be a little bit more grateful. Do me a favor, like the channel, subscribe to the channel, like the video, pushes me into the algorithm. We have hundreds of people in the comment. I really do appreciate you guys all tuning in. We have some more topics like this to talk about. It's a lot going on. I was away for a few days, so I wasn't on live doing my videos. So I appreciate everyone who's been checking on me. Everything's fine. I'll be honest, I ended up going on partying, and I was my cousin's birthday, my friend's, it's everyone's birthday. It's crazy. Everybody's born around the same time of year sometimes. But now I'm like, okay, I'm not hanging out. I'm ordering DoorDash. I'm sitting here on my computer. I'm having these conversations. Some of these topics I've had them poised here, ready to go for the past week. I just have not been able to. I didn't have enough time to get on. Because, I have another company opening up in a couple of months, and there's a lot of stuff with all the preparation. And I was going to go back to Houston. I'm still in Arizona. Arizona's starting to grow on me. I like it here. But I miss Texas, obviously. But anyway, I'll be back on shortly I'm gonna go get some more water, get some fruit, and then I'll be back. So give me about 20 minutes. We'll be back on live. We're going to start this conversation. We have some other ones that are some other important topics, like the student walkouts and how they don't want voter ID. And so we're going to go over it. We're going to go talk about it all. We're going to talk about Trump. We're going to talk about how Epstein was the father of Bitcoin and not some Japanese guy who nobody even knows if he ever existed. We did a 5-hour live the other day about the Epstein video with Steve Bannon. That was my largest video to date, over 20-something thousand people concurrent on the live. Because of that, I understand people have a big interest in that. The Epstein thing it's just, when you see him talking about physics and, certain types of nuanced sciences and new inventions and new studies, when you see a man having that conversation for hours, but then I'm supposed to pretend that I believe he's also a full-time predator, rapist, criminal. I mean, it's just, there's so much more that is missing from the Epstein situation than we know. And I think they try to bombard us with all that weird sex stuff just so that we don't see the trees through the forest. They want all that to distract you. To this day, they haven't shown me any evidence of what Ghislaine Maxwell did. They told me she trafficked some people. They never told me to who. Because of that, it's an incomplete file. You can't accuse somebody of being a drug dealer unless you have some proof that somebody bought some drugs from them. It's just, it has to be a complete file. So that's why I'm saying there's so much that's missing, and people just want to plug in the gap and just say Trump, Trump, Trump. Bro, these files are from long before Trump was even thought of being a president. He wasn't even running for office. This is the early 2000s, the late 90s. These are people that were in government during the Clinton era. So there's a lot to that. So we're going to talk about some of the Epstein stuff too. So it's going to be a long night. It's going to be good. Tune in. We're going to be here. And I am Alicia Laundry. Make me watch my mouth. How about that? I don't know. I don't speak Ebonics. So I'm going to have to go down to the people that speak English. The English. They don't want to talk about that. They actually don't. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate you being here. Thank you. And for all the new subscribers, I want to say thank you guys for all tuning in and coming back. I do like to engage with the chat because there's a lot of stuff here. I'm noticing more and more people are less afraid to respond to these people in the chat, the trolls. I appreciate that, because then that means I don't necessarily have to do it by myself. Sometimes you think you're fighting a wall, like an ocean of people and their opinions, and it's all just gay stuff. As soon as you start talking about the pedophiles and the gay stuff, they don't want to talk about Senate Bill 145. Nobody, not the gays or the blacks, because they're embarrassed. They're ashamed of it. And they should be ashamed of it, but keep bringing it up. Burn this into your memory. And matter of fact, go to Google, type in SB Senate Bill 145. They're going to bring up the links, right? And you can read the verbiage. I want you to share it on your Facebook. I want you to ask your friends who support Democrats, how could they support this, but then be appalled about pedophilia in the Epstein files, but you support decriminalizing and protecting pedophiles in California? Ask them to explain that contradiction. That's how you get your family to change. That's how you get your friends to change. That's how you get to expose people for who they are. How did you support Senate Bill 145 in California that protects pedophiles from having to register? But then, on the other hand, you're crying and screaming about the Epstein files with Trump and accusing him of being a pedophile. Are you complimenting Trump, or are you condemning Trump? Because you were just protecting that same group of people. You can't have it both ways. You can't be a double-minded person. You cannot do it. Senate Bill 145. If you're in my audience and you support me, please pull that up on your phone, go to Google, and just look it up. I just had Arthur talk about it. He only could talk about it so much. Read about it. They decriminalized pedophilia and sodomy and all that with underage kids. You go to the Epstein files, the same things they fought to protect in California are happening in the Epstein files, but yet the same people are pretending that they don't like it because it's Trump. So if Trump wasn't involved, everything else in the Epstein file would be perfectly fine. It'd be perfectly fine with them. Eating children, raping children, all your favorite actors and rappers and all the other disgusting, horrible things that people are being accused of. Not saying there's any proof, but the accusations alone are in those files. No one gives one shit about them. All they care about is Trump. You talk about Trump derangement syndrome not being a real thing, you're wrong. You're wrong. Yeah, Ricky's, of course he's ducking past her. He's an idiot. He's an idiot victim. And you can't, he couldn't have a conversation with an actual man. He's a weak, gay idiot. There's nothing a man will destroy him, pause, not rectally, but just verbally in conversation. Yeah, Geno Jennings. I've heard of him, but I'm going to look him up actually. It's a physically and psychologically impossible for any leftist to ever even consider the possibility that they could actually be incorrect on the topic ever. You're absolutely correct. They can't see the error in their ways. It's like they don't believe in mirrors. But then again, it's a cult. And I don't know if anybody's ever familiar with people that are like a part of a cult. If you break the ranks or if you ask any questions or speak a little bit too much, they'll kick you out. One thing about people that are in cults, they need the sense of security. They need the warmth. They need the feel like they're a part of something. We have it in gangs, gang culture. Everyone talks about being in a gang. No one wants to talk about the anal sex required. But think about it. You want to be a part of the warmth, so you don't want to speak out against the gay stuff. But that comes with with the gang stuff in the jail. You know, it's people don't want to talk about that part. They want to talk about the camaraderie and we're all together, but you can't break out of it and start speaking because then they'll kick you out of the cold. And some people are afraid to be out in the cold on their own. Personally, I'm a man. I'm not used to anybody liking me anyway. No one likes us. They only like us for what we can produce and what we can provide. You know, men don't have unconditional love. That's only for women and children and pets, you know. So I'm used to it. But a lot of people, they don't want to leave their cults. They can't. They know what we're saying is logical. They know it makes sense. They know they're contradicting themselves, but if they say or they ask too many questions, they're going to get kicked out. And they need to feel like they're a part of something. There's a lot of people are followers in this world, which is unfortunately. So what I'm doing is I'm putting myself out there. I'll give them something else to follow. Besides, a lot of the people you were following before took the vaccine and will be passing away this year. Remember, this is the beginning of year 5. This is 5 years post-vaccination. This is when it gets interesting. I'm watching all my favorite Black people die every day or talk about how they had to get heart transplants or their hearts are failing. I'm watching it every day. Men in their 20s and 30s, athletes, the healthiest people in our population. And I'm fine. I'm normal. I didn't even take the test. But everybody else is fucked. Everyone's cooked. Again, when you're 6% of the population, if you lose, a substantial amount of people, you can recover. Not when you're 13. Not when you're 13, plus abortion is the law of the land in your culture, and murder and violence. There is no more. So this is the final solution. I can talk about it freely on here because, well, the future's coming. The future's on its way regardless. There is no us slowing down the future. It's coming. It's barreling towards us. Now, I've been ahead of the curve by about 3 years since the beginning. So because of that, I was able to tell people the future and what was happening. That's why a lot of people follow me. But they also subsequently kicked me off of the internet back in 2020 and 2021 because I was talking about what I saw, where I saw things going in the future. And I was correct. If you go to my Twitter, my Instagram, you'll see the Rico Limbaugh Instagram channel or the right-wing Rico Instagram channel. You'll see all the data there. I keep track of all the deaths because Facebook is now a obituary. You can see all the people that your friends know. You see everybody keep saying rest in peace to all these people, and they're not dying from murder anymore. It's all health complications from people who complied because they wanted to go to Mexico or they wanted to go to Hawaii or they wanted to keep a job or their mom was immune compromised in the hospital and they had to get the shot. Everybody had a fucking excuse. I don't want to hear it, but you know what? You got to take the good with the bad. If this is this is the cost that we have to pay to make America great again so that our future kids can live in a resemblance of security and safety from mentally ill people that hate the country but won't leave it, then so be it. To make an American omelet, some eggs are going to have to get cracked. It's America first and America only. I'll be back with another live shortly. Subscribe to the channel. Cheers.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.